Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Alaya as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Alaya, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
Sanctuary. Today is a very interesting day. As anybody who follows me knows that I'm very much guided by spirit in talking to people or bringing up subjects that maybe needed to be addressed. I originally had to cancel another show because no matter what we tried, that Ross Hamilton, we weren't able to connect. And I believe there was a little bit of divine guidance going on there. So I'd like to thank Ross. He is a brilliant researcher, a fascinating man on the Serpent Mounds. And he totally understood. He says sometimes, you can bash your head against the door so much. So we're going to try it again, and we're going to reschedule another time. But with all the things that are going on in the world, I had a pre-sense of needing to maybe put some words of light into the world. So just decided to, talk about what's going on. And I was talking to my wonderful friend, Charlie Riverman. The Riverman. Charlie, period. And he goes, I'm here if you want to talk. Okay, so here we are. We're going to do one of the early versions of our Heart to Soul talks. And anyone that is not familiar with it, Charlie and I met a few years ago dealing with crystal skulls, and we found out we're both very much on the path of service, during these ascension times. And actually our birthdays are one day apart. So, I mean, there's something, definitely a soul contract going on here. But he's here, wonderful guy. And what are we going to talk about, Charlie?
Well, that's a lovely introduction, Alaya. Thank you very much. You and I, yes, are definitely on a path of service. And these are exciting times. I like the word exciting times, in spite of what we perceive, what we read about, what we're personally experiencing, which comes under a whole new spectrum of reality for each of us, I think. And yet you and I have and we are still going through this. So we're not the end answer to anything that anybody experiences. But I think the time has come for you and I, as we have in the past, to share much of what wisdom we have rather than knowledge. And I will explain that probably a little later. But interestingly, this is sort of a trial run. Here we go.
Yeah. The whole thing is like when Charlie says we share our wisdom. I think it's experience of hard knocks. We are not teachers. We're people that are going through everything what everybody else is going through. It may be different circumstances, but you must believe there's days that, I send up the SOS flag to Charlie. I'm beat. I'm worn. I can't do this anymore. Everything is horrible. And Charlie doesn't send any SOSs, but I know when he gets real quiet, he's going through something. So mentally, I'll send some
It's
energy
not that
to
I don't need them, Alaya. It's not that I don't need them. I just am stubborn male that just won't let go of do-it-yourself attitude.
Yeah, I mean, you get real quiet, and that's when I know that, something, your world is like kaboom also. But I think what I liked what you said in exciting times, and I think this is part of our role to change perceptions. Let's not look at like, oh, the end of the world, this is chaotic, this is horrible. Let's be honest and really talk. What is going on? What is all this fear? I mean, I understand fear. I go through it, but sometimes I got to step back and say, what is it? I mean, why are we pulling it in? Who the media keeps on putting it out there? Be fearful. Check these people. Don't trust. I'm going. That's hogwash, as far as I'm concerned. So I think Charlie and I are going to give you some very honest answers from our heart and our spirit. And if it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, well, we love you and we bless you. And this is just energy that we're sharing.
Yeah, it is. It's our energy that we have to embrace on a daily basis. There's no. I mentioned this yesterday to somebody. There's no magic pill. And many people are looking for a magic pill or an answer from the wizard, the man behind the curtains. And those are illusions. Those are illusions that we've lived with for hundreds of years now. And part of what we're experiencing that I find is exciting is that they're disappearing. Those illusions, those falsehoods are disappearing. They're evaporating. And it doesn't feel like that,
Mm.
but they are, because when I look back in my own repertoire of beliefs, attachments, things that I thought were real, they're no longer there. They're just not there. When I go to try to recall them, saying, no, that can't disappear. That was the belief that got me from point A to point B. There's no answer. So I say that's exciting because what that tells me is that as all of everything's playing out in the world, each of us individually are changing dramatically how we relate to the world. That to me is exciting. And as we all can look out the window and say, yeah, it's long overdue. It's long overdue.
I think the whole was just working on what you're saying is it's a personal journey. Nobody's going to come and fix it. And what I was thinking this morning, you know what is scary? We know how people are bouncing off all these energies. What about the leaders in the world? What are they learning? What is their soul showing them? Are they going crazy too? Or I mean, you look at the gentleman in Canada.
Yeah.
He has some. He is showing the world. Okay, I'm a leader, but my heart is open. And then we have other leaders that are saying, no, 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 no.
Well, this is no. That's a very good subject in and of itself. When you texted me a few days ago, we had topics of disintegration slash fear, transmutation, regeneration, and what I was given the answer was urban renewal.
Right. And it's
and
true.
and I always tell people, listen to your guides, and if they don't have a sense of humor, get rid of them because they're not guiding you. They're trying to dictate to you, which is amazing. Here we have exactly as you said, leaders, people who are standing out as leaders, and then other people who are in leadership positions and they're failing to be leaders. They are cowering in fear. They're blaming others. They're looking around at and allowing their anger and their judgments to guide them rather than their hearts. And so this is that sort of mix that is playing out for every human being on the face of this earth, whether you are a rice farmer or you're the CEO of a corporation or you're the leader of a country. Nobody is escaping this energy.
Now, this is all soul contracts. It's hard. You gotta open your mind, and that's what I think Charlie and I are trying to do. We're throwing all these ideas out to forget when I really get stuck with all the past skunk coming up, and finally says, "Oh well, I thought I got rid of that, but no, there it is again." So evidently, I didn't, haven't addressed it right. But we're all souls. Whether, like Joy said, they're leaders or, even down to the wonderful person that helps feed us, the farmers. We're all going through something. It's all individual, but we came to learn. We came to experience. So maybe some leaders are going through the breakup of the ego, seeing that power really doesn't exist. The more you try to grab it, the more you don't have it.
This is a very good point. Our perception of power has technically, in terms, been a falsehood, and it doesn't mean that we don't have power. We are amazingly powerful beings. We, have the power of creation. If you were to quote, biblical or other holy books, it says you were created in the image of your creator. Well, if your creator created all of this, then so can you. There's no difference. It's not an image meaning a picture or a likeness in that respect, but the whole essence of creatorship. So that's a good point to think about while we disappear, is that you are creators.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com. and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of the Inspired Parenting Radio Show, where every week we bring you empowering information from the diverse fields of conscious parenting, education, neuroscience, consciousness, health, and metaphysics to support you in nurturing the best in your children. So if you're interested in understanding what shapes your children's minds, spirits, and hearts, join me every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and prepare to be inspired.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Events of the past year. I mean, unbelievable violence. People feel so disheartened. They feel victims. They feel that the world is falling apart about them. But I think what Charlie and I are trying to honestly talk to you about, well, at least these are my thoughts, is to take back your own spirit, take back your own light. Nobody can make you a victim. Nobody can be more powerful than you. Everybody has different intentions, but if you start thinking for yourself and make your own judgment, make your own choices, other people can't affect you. And then it's a ripple effect. People are affected by your energy and you inspire them. And then we have a whole new thing going on. Any thoughts on that, Charlie?
Well, yeah, there's always a lot of thoughts that stimulate me. The reality for many of us is that we have listened to people who we trusted and that we had faith in as being our personal guides in life, and the reality for them wasn't any different than it was for us. Most of them were trying to experience life and then guide others at the same time. And I think what we're entering now is a period where we realize that the guidance we really need is not going to come from outside of us. And again, the New Age movement of 30, 40 years ago began that sort of interpretation of life. It had been written about in the ancient Vedas. Throughout history, the message has always been to seek that which is within yourself for guidance. But we've got enamored with the exterior worldview and all that we as creators have been able to create in it. And it's been wonderful. If you talk to somebody who lived perhaps 1,000 years ago and you told them what your life was like today and how horrible it was, I'm sure they could reflect upon their horrors. And when you heard their stories, you'd sit and reflect and say, wow, I'm glad I'm living now rather than then.
Mm.
So the process has always been one of not taking ownership of ourselves and in that respect. So when we talk about victims, people victimizing and perpetrators, etc., this has just been a natural give and take process of life through which we are hopefully to learn that it's outside of us, that if we truly listen to what's inside our hearts, we will come to know that that is just external. It's just the paint on the walls. It's not really happening to us as I will call it the divine creator beings we truly are. That said is the beginning of how the first thing you had was disintegrate our fear.
Mm.
What happens is we become attached to these labels: victim, perpetrator, better, less, word labels, and we begin to own them, and we begin to wear them like clothing. And eventually, lifetime after lifetime, we come back with all of this stuff on us. And the process is basically, how do we get rid of it? There's just so much. Where do you begin? So this is where we're getting to the process of transmutation. We're not just getting rid of it. We're transmuting it back into the initial essence of energy that it was. It was a thought form. It was an idea. It was a creative thought, obviously, because somebody had to create it. But it no longer serves the collective whole of humanity. And that's where we're at right now, is we're at this wall that we're not going to go any further in the manner that we've been going. So everything has to be taken apart.
And I was just building on that too. What was popping in my head, all this violence.
Right.
I
That's
think
horrible.
it's horrible.
There's no way you cannot describe the horrors of it.
I think it's an earth lesson, though. We're going to keep on creating this. Somebody's going to create it until we finally learn we don't need this anymore.
Well, we're getting to look at it again, and if you think of it in this terms, and I'm not trying to diminish what's going on because it affects me very deeply in my heart and my soul. But every lifetime, every incarnation, we have repeated this. We have continually repeated this. The only difference is now we have different ways of doing it. We can do it with remote drones from the inside of somebody's living room. Hello, how insensitive is that? How impersonal is that? So what we've done is the only thing we've accomplished, is technologically advanced to do it so that we have less feeling about what we're doing. We have less remorse. We have less respect for humanity. And I think this is where we're at. This is where the wall is. The wall is that lack of respect for humanity, that we've become so, the word comes to mind is dross. We're just so out of touch with what beautiful beings we are.
Yeah, I think people just seem to expect it. And you have the media so saying, oh, look at this. You got to fear these people. You got to fear, what makes me laugh. I mean, part of the New Age society is, are people awakening to, expanse of consciousness, and they're saying star seeds and they're going disclosure. Well, if they were to come down today, the media would say, oh, you got to fear them. Anything we don't understand, they put the label fear to isolate people instead of embracing people.
So this is how the governing of human beings has been since the first time anybody said, I can control that person. Okay, now it doesn't matter where it began or with whom. The concept of that is it's control. Okay, so this is the whole thing. It's all about control. And now we have to, within our hearts, look and say, what is control?
Oh, yeah.
And we have to decide it for ourselves. What is controlling? What is controlling me? And that when somebody is controlling something else, that means that something else is given it permission. It's given away its own power in exchange for something that control person or that control thing is offering it. So there's always an exchange of energy, you see. Those who have for thousands of years lived and reincarnated and have DNA lifelines flowing that have been in control are not wanting to give that up very easily. And so this is what we're facing. We're facing human beings, whether they're a collective organization or not, that's a whole nother subject. But the concept of within them is the fact that they've had the ability and to control other people. And this is the only way they know how to exist.
It's part of their soul contract why they keep on reincarnating. So they get it.
Exactly. And so we're not only are we who are feeling controlled and feeling out of control working through this process, so are they. Okay? And this is what I see now is this is all what's playing out. This is the word you put out there was regeneration. We're regenerating. All of these souls are regenerating. And in the process, we have to go through a timeline period that allows that regeneration to occur. Now, I'd like it to be instantaneous, as so would many of us.
Yeah, me too.
Bingo.
Me too.
Give me the magic wand. I'll take it. Yeah, the magic pill. But we have to understand that as souls, which are basically source of unconditional love, basically we are that which created us in a human form. We're not any separate. There's no separation. There really isn't. It's only we've created separation in order to experience separation.
I agree.
And it's interesting when you can start to own that kind of conceptual way of thinking. So I ask people to take a bite of that sandwich or that bite of that cookie. It goes against a lot of what mainstream religions have taught us, that of sects and cults and all of these organizations who all sought control. And this was what it was all about. There was a time when that was what we wanted to experience. We wanted to experience the power of control. Now what we're trying to experience as souls is the freedom of co-creation, of how powerful can we be if we all just came together and focused our intention on something. Imagine what we could do. So this is, I think, the shifting, the whole process that we're going through. On the surface, it's horrible. It's nasty. It's messy. It's not pretty. But this is what my guides told me one morning, was the fact that call it urban renewal.
And we'll get into this idea more when we come back.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
The name is Bond. James Bond.
No, the name is Joe. The Joe Show. And we are returning back for our 9th season here on OMTimes Radio. So tune in every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on OMTimes.com/mobile. You can take us wherever you go. Yeah!
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Oh, back with Charlie, and this time is flying by.
It is, isn't it? It's amazing how quick it goes.
But the thing is, one thing I like to get in this segment is about the urban renewal, because this is what really is happening. I mean, I think, like Charlie said, we have all this horrendous violence, and people are saying, enough, why are people being violent? Why is this happening? And everyone wants to blame each other. But I think we're at a point in our evolution that we need to take responsibility for our own thoughts and our own choices, how we react to events.
Yes.
So, but the thing is, sometimes you need to see it, to talk about it, to honestly be open about it, and not to say, pat on the back and say, okay, I understand. No, let's show something. I mean, we had horrible, violence this past year, and that was to me, it was like the disintegration of, breaking through that wall of the veil, until you can get to the light. And then, you go through the parts of ascension and transformation where inside of you, your soul's saying, peeking out and go, hey, there's more to you than you think there is, or what people tell you about yourself. And then what was the next step?
Well, no, the way you describe it is a perfect description of what I term urban renewal. And if people would think about things and realize that, yes, we can all, spout our own perception of how things should be. And we're entitled to that right. That's who we are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what's happening is you're living in a world where those who are in power have the ability to control what information you receive and what information you don't receive. So there's a deception. And so we have to accept the fact that we're living in a world of mass deception. Okay? Take that anywhere you want to go with that, personally, collectively. It doesn't really matter. Just know that there's a massive deception. This is the whole process of illusion. If you're an illusionist, if you're a magician, this is what you're doing. You're deceiving somebody, not to harm them per se in that aspect, but they're not seeing the whole picture. And so by not seeing the whole picture, they see what you want them to see. Okay. So now what happens is this urban renewal concept is the fact that I grew up in Boston when the West End was being torn down, and that was called urban renewal. I moved to another town when I was 11, and that went through an urban renewal process as well. And this is what the guide said to me. He says, you've been through this twice in this lifetime, and you know exactly what's happening. So just look at it differently. Don't get caught up in what's playing out in front of your eyes, because that's all magic and mirrors. That's just illusions. So what took place in your and I'm just going by this lifetime, not others, but we've all been through other lifetimes and have these memories. The reality is, in order for something to dramatically change, sometimes you have to tear it down completely. You have to demolish it. And if you look at the history of humanity, civilizations have been torn down, demolished, rebuilt, etc. I always said, I'm living through the Roman Empire, the collapse of the Roman Empire again. I've said that since I was a child. So what takes place? What takes place is the fact that things start to fall apart. They start to there's a lack of respect for each other. There's disillusion. There's all of these arguments and fights, and he's right, you're wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And so everything, the cohesiveness of, I'm going to use the word urbanity, if there is such a word, but of living together as a human race on a planet starts to fall apart. As it does, we collectively, and we've done this collectively, we're committing, whether you understand it or not, we've committed to change. We know we have to change. We send out that intention, and so this is what happens. It has to be torn down in order to be rebuilt again. We cannot rebuild it on the ashes that it burns or collapses from. So in the picture of the West End being torn down, there were thousands of lives that were dramatically changed. people had to leave their homes. It was destructive. There was no compassion for them. Yet through the whole, their buildings were all torn down. I mean, I played in the rubble, and I took all this junk out that were people's personal treasures, and they were left behind because they had no place to go or no way to move them. And for a child, that was like a playground. I was playing in the rubble. And so what is happening. It's being torn down. So next step is the bulldozers come and take it all away and clear everything so that it's a flat ground. They remake the streets, and they start to rebuild. They start remaking the streets, rebuilding buildings, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, the community, which is now newly built, comes back to life again. It's never the same as it was. Never the same as it was. But it functions in a new manner. Okay? Now, we can sit here on this end and say, I don't want that. But that's not my vision. That's not for me. But as it plays out over time, everybody no longer remembers the old community, the old way of doing things that was so hard for people, that was really destructive, that was really chaotic. And they adapt to the new environment. This is what we're going through, is a period of renewal, regeneration, where things have to be torn apart. And they have to be let go of so that we can, as a collective body of humans, come together and say, this is the better way. This is the better vision. This is going to last longer. It's going to be more harmonious. It's going to be more beneficial to everybody. And that's the process that urban renewal, that my guides have look at, change the way, they've always said, change the words you use to something that is more productive rather than destructive. So urban renewal, on one hand, is destructive. And if that's what you want to focus on, the destructive end, which we're in right now, so be it. It is destructive. There's no way I'm going to tell you it's not. But I can tell you that as a result of all urban renewals that have ever occurred throughout the history of humanity, there's always been something better that's come in its place.
And I think the one aspect that's going to make this one different is that people have to go through their own personal urban renewal.
Yes.
They have to have the destruction of all their past so that new ideas can come in, so that they can feel different about themselves or feel the strength to have their heart open to humanity. It's all within you. Now, if you combine this inner change and outer expression of change, as Charlie says, change the words. Like I said, an exciting period to live in instead of, oh my God, this is the most horrible end of time thing. Change the words, what you're putting out there. And then I think the combination of the planetary change or the universal mind and what you're putting out there individually, I think this time we're going to make it. I hope. I don't want to.
Well, we are, because we're co-creating it. We're co-creating it. We're not co-creating our extinction. What race of being would co-create its extinction? Let's look at this from a point of, abstract thinking.
Common sense.
This is the reality. If you are a creator being, if we as a collective, how many billion people are on this planet? We're all like one little cell in some other body, which could be, an astro-terrestrian. I don't know what they are. Who is the creator? So we're all one cell. Why would you create your own self-destruction? You wouldn't, because that's the end of your creative beingness. So if you sit with that, just sit with it, these kind of thoughts, take yourself away from the television, away from the newspaper, away from the people who are spitting out violence and spitting out hatred and bigotry, etc., and look and say, why would I do this to myself? And then look down into your own self and say, but I am doing this to myself every day, aren't I? Some way I'm neglecting myself, whether it be physically or emotionally or mentally, or I'm stuck in a relationship or that I hate and I can't stand, and it just breeds violence. I'm no different than that which is outside of me. So we have to look inside, and we have to start taking ourselves apart and saying, wow, it's overwhelming at first. It really is. And there's some days that I'm just overwhelmed myself. And then I have to say, but you know what? How many overwhelming days have I spent in this lifetime? Thousands. So it's just another day. And I've gotten through all of those, and I will get through the next one. And if I don't, if some terrorist comes up and blows me up, well, then I'll have to do it in another lifetime. Because the reality is I'm technically an eternal being on some level. And so this is hard for people to conceive of. Are we eternal beings? Or are we just this little being on a planet that has all this power, where we have the power to destroy a planet, yet we don't have the power to look inside of ourselves and really know who we truly are?
And to change the world.
Right.
It is.
So this is the power we have, and when we give it away on any level, we have to look at that. Doesn't mean you can't do that. You certainly can. And we do when we love somebody. We give our love away. We give a part of ourselves away. But it's done in a mutual respect. It's done in accord with the highest good for the other person as well as ourselves. And so as it flows through us, it returns to us. So there's this symbiotic flow of that which we give, we receive.
Oh, here we are again.
Nice thought to end on. That which you give, you receive. Amen. That's it just comes through me.
Cool.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Alaya, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. The future of internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're in our final segment. I can't believe how time goes so quickly.
I know.
I was shocked to hear my own voice on that but it had the words enlightenment and nourishment. And I think this is what Charlie and I are going to try to do on these Heart to Soul talks. I'm very, very lucky that he's going to be joining me at the last Sunday of every month. And we're going to do these sharings. And we never know what's going to come out, but it's to nourish your soul, nourish your soul. We're not revolutionaries. We're not trying to do anything to you. We're trying to make you remember and to feel and to take back your own energy and to look at the world differently. So the last segment, I had asked Charlie, we have a few minutes to give individual messages. Now, my friend Charlie is a wonderful poet. He has a wonderful word with ways. Oh boy, I can't even get it
Yeah,
out.
the word with waste. That's it.
You know what I'm saying.
And vice versa.
Do you have something personal? This is why I like to keep this last segment, something that's coming from your heart, and then I'll follow you.
Well, Elia, you mentioned that before, and I think you messaged me earlier. And the first writing that I just read right after you was from Jennifer Farley, who does the creator writings. And her message today was never forget that you are a beloved child of the universe. All things are possible and most definitely within your reach. Remember your power. And I said, this is spirit in action. This is how I've learned to live. And if I can learn to live like this, you can. And that's sort of in essence. When you need that saying, it will appear. When you need those words, it will appear. When you need that assistance, it will appear. And it's not because I'm seeking it. It's because I'm open to it. And so my messages are always about peace, light, and love. And it's been a long journey to sit here and, as you've probably seen, those of you who follow me on Facebook or my friends or whatever, I started a new page. I'm coming out. I'm not embarrassed to say what I have to say anymore. I'm not living in fear of what I have to say. A lot of people are not going to perhaps like what I have to say, and some people may cheer dramatically, and it doesn't matter. I have to say what comes from my heart. And so that's my poetry, and that's how I write, how I take pictures, and how I create. That's how I express being the creator I am. And so it's about being a messenger for me. That's how I'm to be of service. There's a bunch of Post-it notes here. I've collected all off my desk this morning, and it gets crazy. I can't believe I wrote all these things. Yeah, it's insane. It's like, when I look at this and people say, "Did you write that?" Yeah, I wrote it. It's like, but then they look at me, or if they see me in person, they say, "But you don't seem to be the same person that's on." And I says, "But I am." And that's the thing that's so wonderful, is that I can be this person who can be divinely inspired and guided by higher self and those beings that are around that higher self, and yet I can live on 2 feet and eat English muffins and drink coffee. That's the reality of who we are. So one more thing, and then let's see, which one will I pick? Neeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay.
Close your eyes and just grab it.
Well, I think we've talked about the stress of what we're going through, and then we're all going through it. And for each of us, it's a personal stress, and I can't know your stress, and you can't know mine. But we are going to go through it, and we're going to make it through it. And so there's one here right in the center of the screen here and it's very brief. It just says, "Roadblocks are blessings when taken as messages from our higher self. And detours give us vision to clarify our alignment when we have become deaf and blind to the call of our open heart." I will post that somewhere, anywhere you want to lie. The reality of that is we're all in that space where we know we're detaching from, and it brings up fear. We're letting go of stuff, and it's bringing up fear. But basically, what we're really truly doing is dropping from the mind that has created all of this horror, all of this chaos, and into the heart, which can only create from love. And that's scary for us. And the more we drop into that, the more roadblocks we'll come to. Because over time and over lifetimes and experiences and through our genetic background, etc., we've put all these roadblocks and all these barriers and walls around our heart. And it's basically, in essence, really just opening yourself to your heart and expressing it. And it's really that simple.
Beautiful. Yeah, post it on the radio page.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's where we're at, is we're looking at that. We've got roadblocks. We've got, tape, warning tape, don't, no, do not enter. We've got everything's barricaded, and we're really just opening our hearts. And as we open our hearts, that's where we're really truly going to create and co-create this new way of life for all of humanity. It's not going to be somebody else that's going to do it. You and I and everybody listening is going to. It's all our responsibility.
Yeah, that's quite true. I said I just have a.
I thank you for this opportunity to speak, and in the next year we're going to go with this, and I think you can see I'm much more relaxed.
Yeah.
In doing this, I'm much more at peace with myself and who I'm allowing myself to really express, because we all put up barriers and we all have fears, and mine too have dissipated, and some of them have not been easy things to let go of. But I can assure you that if I can do it, anybody can.
That's the same with me. I've known Charlie for a few years now, and we've grown, each of us. We were both in our little caves, and I got pulled out, and I said, I'm not doing this alone. I pulled him in. And
no, you just extended your loving arm from your heart and said, come along with me. And I said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I still twisted the arm a little. Anyway, we don't take ourselves seriously, but we take our vision seriously. And the vision of the heart is very important to us because, like I said, we're going through everything right along with you. And actually, before I say my little ending here, next week, I'd like you to turn in because you get to know the real Charlie.
Oh my goodness! Now I'm feeling my arm twisted.
Yeah, no, now he's committed. I got him. And now we'll find out. Okay, so until next week, we'll find out more about Charlie. But for me, I wanted just to pass the words of, and this has gone around so much, from John Lennon, a man so much ahead of his time, because you may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will become as one. How profound was that he wrote that? And such a shame that he just wasn't here. I guess he is seeing it on some level, his seeds of work.
He is, and he is with us as many of the other visionaries throughout our lives. And they touch us with their words, with their compassion, with their acts of kindness, with their acts of bravery. They're valiant warriors is how I would like to describe them, but not warriors in the sense of killing and maiming others, but warriors in the way of leading us into becoming better.
I think it's a fire in your heart. It's a passion. You start to recognize, there's more to life. We gotta see things different, but that's what purpose of that's why, like, medias like OMTimes, they put out there from all the different hosts information to support you where you're at. We're not saying we're any higher. No, well, we just have fun with these talks. But I think
Well,
I
I
think
think
there's a reason.
that's why we settled and we started in the beginning. They were heart to souls, and they were about us opening our hearts. And it still is about us opening hearts. And now it's not so much opening, but opening them larger and wider and keeping them open. I think that for me, that if I were to speak for myself, my heart is open, and how do I keep it open?
Yeah, and that's
Uh,
important. I was going to say, even I think once you get to know us more, you'll realize it's like two hermits stepping
oh
out,
yeah,
saying, okay, I'm afraid, but as Charlie said, no, now it's time just to come from the heart, because if you can see us in that way, you'll see yourselves in that way. So, with all these shows and with the beautiful media of own times, supporting us, let's help change the world by changing yourself and to feel the love that's within you.
yeah.
So we'll see you next week and we'll get to know Charlie.
Blessings to all of you, my beloved brothers and sisters. I love you dearly. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you so much. And Charlie, thanks a lot. Bye bye.
you. You, my dear, are always welcome.
Okay, bye.